Hey, good evening, John. Again, going for that immaculate grid. It's just about what 6 o'clock here on the East Coast, chasing that rarity score. We'll see how I do. I've had a pretty good last couple days. Nothing as crazy as those sevens, nines, and tens I was getting a couple weeks ago, but at least I've been getting them all the last couple days at least. So here we go, sharing my screen here. Gonna go ahead and refresh, and away we go. So we've got the Tampa Bay Rays, uh, Minnesota Twins, Toronto Blue Jays, Oakland Athletics, or Kansas City Athletics, or Philadelphia Athletics. Twins also works for the first iteration of the Washington Senators. Fun fact. And then you've got All Stars from both the Rays and the Twins, and then 100 RBI season batting. Um, all right. I can play with this a little bit. I think for All-Star, one that I just kind of remember because I know he was an early, I think it was actually the year the All-Star game was at Miller Park in Milwaukee. I've actually got the base here from the Home Run Derby. I believe Randy Wynn was their lone All-Star. See how that does. 0.4%. All right. I just happened to remember that. Yeah, I think he's pictured here with the Giants. I think he went to the Mariners, then the Giants, some order like that. All right, that's pretty good. Um, and we've got any All-Star with the Twins. I think I've got a pretty good one here. Yeah, Ron Coomer I went with because in 1999, I think it was 99, he got an All-Star bid over A-Rod. And the only reason was the Twins needed an all-star and shortstop was stacked because Vizquel was having a great year, Nomar was having a great year, Jeter was having a great year. So like Jeter was, also had a great year. He hit 40 home runs that season. But I remember them specifically being like, what's the deal with Ron Coomer being an all-star over A-Rod? So that's how I came up with that one. Um, the teams, yeah, these are some interesting ones. David Price will work for Blue Jays and Rays. Um, Rays and A's is an interesting one. A's and Twins, again, that could also be A's and Senators. Actually, I've got a good one there. I do have a good one for this one. Last 2 years of the illustrious career of Tris Speaker. He's all-time great Hall of Famer, played for the Senators and the Philadelphia A's in the last couple of years, like 27, 28. So let's lock that in. Whoo! That feels really good. 0.06%. I just happened to, yeah. So he was Boston, Cleveland were the main teams he was with, but yeah, just in the last couple of years there, he bounced around to a couple of the other teams. I happened to get that one. 0.06% from one of the all-time best players. Certainly in the dead ball era. Of course, that extended into the live ball era. It was 27, 28. Um, I've got a pretty good one also for this one. So far this has just been like random tidbits I've more or less remembered. And I know Terry Steinbeck had exactly 100 RBI in the 1996 season. He had really anomalous season. He had 35 home runs, 100 RBI. By the way, he also would have worked here, but I don't know if he would have been that low. Anyway, going with Terry Steinbeck for 100 RBI with the A's. 0.2%. All right, I'm on a roll. I'm on a roll so far. Problem is I'm not thinking of any like really unique people for these teams. So um I mean we'll see. We'll see if I come up with any. 100 RBI seasons for the Blue Jays. I think Jesse Barfield will work, George Bell will work. Not sure about Lloyd Mosby. I'm not as confident on that one. I'm not even that confident on Fred McGriff. Um, Dave Winfield would work. He played one season for the Blue Jays, but I think it was a memorable enough season. John Olerud would work from his 93 season. Joe Carter works for several seasons. Delgado works for several seasons. I think Vernon Wells works for a couple seasons. Obviously, more recent people, Jose Batista, Josh Donaldson, Edwin Encarnacion will all work. So there's a lot of options here. I think they'll split. Like I think that the more recent people will each split somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 25% each, and they'll take well over half. And then the question is, which of the other? I think Carter takes a fair amount because he was like a consistent run producer for the Blue Jays. There's a couple I'm not sure about. Kelly Gruber is one. I know he had a big year in 1990, but I don't know if it had 100 RBI. Fred McGriff had a big year in 89, and I mean he was a consistently high performing player, but I'm not sure about 100 RBI. George Bell won the MVP in 87. Probably should have gone to Al and Trammell, but it went to George Bell. He definitely had well over 100 RBI that season. Delgado and Wells, I think, will get their fair share. I think Barfield is probably of the ones I just picked. Like I rattled off a bunch, and I think Barfield is the one that will work best. I don't think he's going to be like these guys, though. I think he's going to be at least a couple percent. What about Aaron Hill? Aaron Hill would also work, but I'm gonna go with Barfield. Oh, sub 1%. All right, not bad. All right. Twins and Blue Jays is a couple, three Hall of Famers that spring to mind. Jack Morris, I think that's going to do numbers. I think that's going to be fairly popular. Dave Winfield, hometown guy from Minnesota, got his 3,000th hit there. And then Paul Molitor, ditto, hometown guy, also manager of the Twins, also got his 3,000th hit as a Twin. All three of those people were huge for those Blue Jays championship teams, and then Morris was huge for that Twins championship team. So that's three people right off the bat who I think aren't that recent and will also do really well. Josh Donaldson and Edwin Encarnacion. Actually, yeah, I'm pretty sure on Encarnacion. But definitely Josh Donaldson, they would work as well. They're on the more recent side of things. But I've got one that kind of splits the difference between those eras. And I don't think it's going to be that low. I think it's going to be in the 5% or so range. But in 2003, the Blue Jays traded Chan Stewart to the Twins, and I think Stewart ended up like fourth in the MVP voting. Like the narrative was perfect. They got Stewart. They went on a run. They made the postseason. I think they for the second time in a row. So that one is standing out to me. And I think everyone, I mean, the three Hall of Famers who are part of championship teams, I think they're going to be too popular. Donaldson's really recent. So I think I'm going to lock in Shannon Stewart. 2%. All right. Let's see. Got the A's and Rays over here. Carlos Pena will work. He was in Moneyball, being traded away from the A's. So that one might be too popular. Because I mean he's very prominent player with the Rays. I'm just gonna go around. Oh, Canseco. Canseco will work. I think Pena is probably less prevalent than Canseco though. Um, and sort of bouncing around the horn there on those early Rays teams. Ooh, I've got a good one here. I've got a good one here. Oh, okay, it doesn't quite work, but the one I've got here is Eric Hinsky, who was a rookie of the year with the Blue Jays in that 2002 season, and then was on that Rays team for the '08 season. Let's see how he does. 1%. Hinsky then was instantly traded. The person that A's traded him away from, because he was in the A's farm system. They traded him to the Blue Jays for Billy Koch. So if like this one was down here, that would be a good match. Would be Billy Koch. Um, but yeah, as it stands now, um, yeah, just thinking through some early Devil Rays. Wade Boggs was at third base. We said Canseco would work. We said Carlos Pena would work. I think Kevin Stocker doesn't work. Jorge Canty doesn't work. Paul Sorrento doesn't work. Dave Martinez, I don't think he works. Uh, Roberto Hernandez never made his way over to Oakland. Okay, let's move our way towards the '08 Rays. Was Zobrist? Was he on the A's ever so briefly? Because he was traded. Was he traded in 2014 to the A's and then 2015 to the Royals and then to the Cubs? I think that might have been his career progression. Or am I making that up? Might be making that one up. I'll double check on that because that would be a pretty good one if he'd only played that half season. Pena is not exactly prominent with the A's, but Moneyball, right? Pretty big movie. So maybe he gained. The problem here I'm realizing is bouncing around from place to place implies free agency, and both of these teams are notoriously cheap and unwilling to spend on free agency. So the only options are via trade. If one team happens to, be in one of their down cycles and one team happens to be an up cycle, like you could totally see the A's doing a trade this year with the Rays because they're not winning anything. They did sweep the Brewers though. All right, I'm gonna go Carlos Pena, but I suspect that Moneyball. Oh, I've got a better one. He's also a Moneyball, but I don't think people are going to remember he was a Ray very well. Hmm, he was just barely with the Rays, and he was with the A's for a season, but it was the Moneyball season. I'm gonna lock in Johnny Damon over Carlos Pena, and I'll play on my phone later. And I'll see how Carlos Pena did. 4%. Okay, I feel okay about 4%. We'll see how Pena did. And then I just need any all-star who drove in 100 runs or more in a season. And there's bound to be a lot of them. um, so the trick is how do we make this obscure? And I think I got a good one that I just came up with. Um, very prominent player, but not as an RBI man. And that's Rod Carew, who I'm very certain had 100 RBI in 1977, which was the year he um, uh, chased 400. He hit 388 that season. And I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, there's probably other people I could come up with, go older. I could, you know, I could probably, I might be able to go more obscure. It's just that driving in 100 runs is not a thing that Rod Carew was known for. But in that 1977 season, I know he did, and I think that'd be a good option. So I'm gonna lock that. And I will also throw this out here. Carew will draw numbers, not overwhelmingly so because he's a bit older, but he'll draw some numbers over here too. So I think that's a good option. All right, so I got a rarity score of 10. Feeling pretty good on that. Yeah, so you had, I mean, the max here was 10% from Aaron Judge. And so you probably had, you know, several, what was the number actually? 482. So it'd be interesting to see which of the 482 options would have been the absolute most obscure. My option here was, okay, 0.1%. So maybe there was probably something better. No, this is good across the board. Damon is my highest at 4%. Let's see if there's some better ones since I kind of went with oh, Balfour I think I knew, but he's relatively recent. I think he would have done pretty well. Not Julio Rodriguez. Ben Grieve I knew. Jose Guillen I knew. I did not realize Matsui was in Tampa. Missed that. Carlos Payne was the other one I was going to go with. All right. From the pitchers. Yeah, I don't feel too bad about Damon. Damon was a pretty good get. I could have, if I'd really sat down and thought about it, I could have come up with Jose Guillen. Um, I do remember that. Um, Zobrist, I was right about Zobrist. Zobrist briefly was in Oakland Athletic. Um, Edwin Jackson, he's kind of a cheat code in this game. You can lean on him. Ben Grieve, I should have remembered. Ben Grieve was rookie of the year for the A's in 1998. So I distinct, and that was one of the first years I was following baseball. So I do distinctly remember that. But anyway, this was a fun game. Feel pretty good about score of 10. And once again, these episodes are brought to you by my only sponsor, which is me, which is my book, Baseball's Most Fun Frivolities, which I'll include a link to in the description down below. Thanks a lot for playing, and we'll play again tomorrow.